It really is a very great pleasure to me to introduce this video of your graduation. We hope it will provide a good memento for you and your family of this happy occasion. And in particular, we hope it will remind you of friends and places that you've got to know in your years here. We also hope that it will reinforce your feeling, which I'm sure is thoroughly deserved, of pleasure and pride at your achievement in graduating from this university. Now, the University of Manchester, like all universities in the United Kingdom, need their graduates very much. We need you to carry our reputation to the four corners of the world. This is a role that perhaps was allowed to lapse somewhat in the recent past, but we are now working here in Manchester very hard to try to bring our graduates into the family. To this end, we are developing and will send to you from time to time a magazine called Manchester Graduate. This will tell you quite a lot of what's going on and what are the new developments in your university. I hope you will receive it and enjoy reading it. The university's come an enormous way since John Owens founded his college down in the centre of the town in 1851. The university has grown and its reputation has expanded. That reputation is very much in the hands of its graduates.
It is a matter of great sadness, Your Grace, to the university, and we would like to think to you yourself, that this is the last occasion on which you will preside at one of our degree congregations. By a curious paradox, it is also the first occasion on which I have been asked to serve as presenter of honorary graduands, and my obvious inexperience may fill Your Grace with as much alarm as it does myself. I act simply as locum tenens for that distinguished surgeon, Professor Ian Gillespie, who, as you recall, sir, wields his scalpel as deftly upon the lives and careers of our graduands as he does upon his patients in another theatre. But I do hasten to reassure the wider public that this is the only duty of Professor Gillespie's that I have assumed in his brief absence. People may have no fear. I present firstly to your Grace Mrs. Sophia Penelope Baldwin. Penelope Baldwin was born a Barlow, a textile Barlow, a daughter of Sir Thomas, who was a very fine spinner indeed, a sensitive collector of fine art, and a judge of fine wine. He was a banker also, who prized among his more liquid assets a magnificent cellar, particularly of German wines. With a mother who combined classical scholarship with a pitiless skill on the tennis court, Penelope Baldwin clearly had rather a lot to live up to, and she has done so. Head girl of Cheltenham, she went on to Cambridge to read mathematics and economics, no softer options for her, but the real hard stuff. Came the war, and our graduand joined the civil service to enter that division of the Board of Trade that ran clothes rationing, then directed by a most able young administrator, Raymond Baldwin. Few in this hall will remember the agonized decisions that clothes rationing made necessary to us, whether to replace a pair of trousers, now close to total structural failure, or to offer the coupons to one's girlfriend for a new summer dress, thus securing her undying devotion. Great moral dilemmas the nation faced. The firm of Barlow and Baldwin, within the Board of Trade, clothed the nation in a way that not even the rival concern of Marks and Spencer has ever been quite able to emulate. Miss Barlow and Mr. Baldwin merged their interests in a closer partnership. They married and settled here in the Manchester area, where they raised a family of 3 talented children, a doctor, a don, and a priest. Alongside a very full and richly happy family life, Penelope Baldwin developed a career of social service in which the constant theme has been a concern for children and for young people. She is, I believe, sir, a brown owl retired, or should I say emeritus, in an assembly such as the present one. She long supported the Princess Christian movement for some time as chairman, and so gave energy and thought to the training of nursery nurses. And for almost 30 years, Mrs. Baldwin sat on the city bench of magistrates and specialised in the work of the juvenile court panel, of which she was deputy chairman. Her colleagues speak very warmly indeed of her commitment to a demanding and even a distressing task, but one which gave her the chance to help children in trouble. At an opposite pole, she served as a governor of Manchester Girls' High School since 1949 and was chairman for 15 years. For part of that time, her husband chaired the Manchester Grammar School Governors, surely a unique conjunction of responsibility in a single household. Are there, we ask, partisan exchanges around the Baldwin's breakfast table when the annual tallies of scholarship success and examination results are known? It would, of course, be improper so to intrude upon their privacy. These are serious duties. There is a lighter, brighter, indeed extravagantly colourful side to life chez Baldwin. Their magnificent garden, with its 500 varieties of rhododendrons and azaleas, a collection of national importance and not just kept to themselves, but open to the public each year in the support of charities. I'm told, Your Grace, that in the matter of rhododendrons, Chatsmouth must really look to its laurels, for the Baldwins are taking the prizes. Well, 500 varieties of plants, 9 grandchildren too, according to a recent census. Clearly, the Baldwins need, and perhaps employ, a home computer to list and codify the individual peculiarities of both populations so as to buy the right present or select the right treatment. There seems scarcely to have been time in a life so full for our graduand to have taken on more duties, But she served the university well, both on court and later on council, the latter a demanding 10-year tour of duty, and her main university interest was to take a leading part in the work of the theatre committee and to defend the theatre with all her considerable force of personality when the 1981 cuts forced us to reconsider, in fact reduce, our level of support for it. But through her vigorous chairmanship of the Young Persons Theatre Council, that concern for youth showing through again, Contact Theatre Company has been so raised in critical esteem that the Arts Council now sees it to be an initiative of national importance. Well, for all these reasons and others, Your Grace, I present to you Sophia Penelope Baldwin for the degree of Master of Arts honoris causa. Your Grace and Chancellor, if I were to introduce Bernard Holloway to you as a rather shy and retiring man, as a diffident and self-effacing chap who shrank away from conflict and from controversy, as a man quick to trim his sails to the prevailing winds and tides of popular opinion, well, sir, if I use terms like those, not one of Bernard's many friends in this hall would begin to recognise our graduand today. The graduand I now present is above all else a fighter, a most formidable champion of the causes and the values he believes in. He's a fighter by talent, by temperament, and by early training as an aircrew member of the wartime Fleet Air Arm. To go 5 rounds with Bernard Holloway on the wrong side of an argument in the committee room is to take vigorous exercise, as good as squash. I've tried both with some benefit. Here then we have a career specialist. How did his own choice of career evolve? As an Oxford first in chemistry, he had the world at his feet after the war. He chose teaching and spent 5 years at Blundell School at Tiverton. Becoming interested in the interface between education and industry, he left the former to try the latter, and one wonders which great school thus lost the bracing experience of having our graduand as its head. He joined British and Island Spinners as a personnel man, and so became a recruiter of graduates. Thus he saw a lot of the work of the university's career services, and concluded both that they could stand a great deal of improvement, and that he might well make his own distinctive contribution to that highly desirable end. Every expert poacher has the makings of a good gamekeeper, and so he changed sides and came here to Manchester in 1960 as head of the career service. And things were never quite the same after that. This was a post he was to occupy for nearly a quarter century, and most people so long in a single job would go perhaps rather off the boil and settle down to a quiet routine of professional life. Not so Bernard Holloway. He continued to bubble with enthusiasm, to fizz with new ideas, to explode occasionally in cosmic outbursts of great energy as innovations occurred to him. To work with Bernard, and I have done so, was to share the experience of those Sicilian peasants who farm the upper slopes of Mount Etna, never quite sure when the next burst of volcanic energy is due. And those awesome eruptions changed not just the way that the Manchester Careers Unit worked, but the whole of the national practice of the Careers Service. He started on a hand duplicator the Manchester Clearinghouse list of jobs available, and that became the national list of current vacancies, now part of the bedrock of the placement system. He saw the need to establish a central agency to support the work of the careers services nationally, and thus was created the Central Services Unit, housed here in Manchester. Bernard Holloway applied the power of the computer, very early indeed, to help students test their aspirations and their qualities against the demand of particular careers. A sort of computer dating system, matching not lonely heart to lonely heart, but graduate to career. Through his enterprise was launched the Register of Graduate Employment and Training, ROGE, now the Bible of the trade, begun here and now printing 45,000 copies each year. That venture provoked a lively skirmish with the commercial publishers of careers guides, who may be said, in cricketing terms, to have retired hurt. And lastly, our graduand rode out to do battle with the entire accountancy profession to change their recruitment practices. The then Vice-Chancellor and I tried to dissuade him from so heroic a gesture, believing it might come to resemble a rerun of the charge of the Light Brigade, but he charged and he won, and that august profession changed its way of recruiting graduates. Here then, sir, is a man who might list among his recreations swimming, generally against the tide, riding, the occasional hobby horse, walking, usually on tight ropes. Your Grace, Bernard Holloway has never before permitted me to discuss such a controversial subject for so long, and so silently on his part. I expect him to leap vigorously into debate at any moment. I'd better not push my luck any further, but present to Your Grace and Chancellor Bernard John Holloway for the degree of Master of Arts honoris causa. Your Grace and Chancellor, when Miss Hume retired quite recently as headmistress of Withington Girls' School, the occasion was marked by the composition of a special song, of which I possess both the words and the music, but I hasten to reassure Your Grace and others in this congregation with musical sensibilities that I shall attempt nothing choral, but will confine my presentation to serious and to sober prose. Indeed, I am bound to confess I still feel a trifle nervous in the presence of a distinguished head, twinges of conscience doubtless for long-forgotten misdemeanours. To be quite briefly biographical, Miss Hume was born in Bury, attended the grammar school there, and quickly displayed that power of a most uncommon intellect that was to carry her career forward so swiftly. From Bury to Girton College, Cambridge, a considerable leap, especially at that time, and so to an undergraduate career of distinguished achievement. Miss Hume's degree was in mathematics and moral sciences, and perhaps that combination is key to her unusual blend of qualities. Everyone who knows her well stresses the precision and discipline of her mathematically trained mind, but also the sincerity, the rich humanity, the complete integrity that perhaps reflect the other side of her studies. Where after Cambridge, the options must have been almost limitless. Miss Hume chose teaching. One suspects less the choice of a career than the recognition of a vocation, and so back close to her roots to a first post in Blackpool, and from there via Widnes to her first headship at Lee Girls' Grammar School at the impossibly early age of 32. I'm told by former colleagues whom I have consulted that she was sometimes mistaken for one of her own rather more mature sixth formers. Widnes, Lee, Is there evidence here, I'm bound to inquire, of some carefully concealed but passionate interest in rugby league football? My researches on the point thus far remain inconclusive. After a 6-year period of work at Lee, all too short I know, in the opinions of the teaching staff there, Marjorie Hume came to Withington as head, there to remain for almost 25 years. In our egalitarian society, perhaps it is only the heads of large schools who continue to enjoy, or who must endure, both an almost absolute power and an undivided responsibility. I doubt that vice-chancellors or even dukes are quite in that position. I know professors are not. In my observation, heads react rather idiosyncratically to their great authority and develop their own inimitable management styles. One I once knew well threw away all his official correspondence each morning as a ritual gesture of defiance directed against his education committee, but the school caretaker carefully preserved all his waste baskets in date order as a kind of rudimentary filing system, and the head would often be seen rummaging among them on a Friday to deal with such urgencies as brooked no delay. I doubt that Miss Hume's approach to management was quite so eccentric as that. Indeed, she has a formidable reputation as a businesswoman, and given the composition of her governing body with a strong university interest, she'd need to be. But she has had a firm faith in the democratic principle as applied to the governance of the school. Staff meetings were held at regular intervals, once a year, I'm reliably informed, and they might endure for as long as 20 minutes, even half an hour on occasion. I wonder whether the Vice-Chancellor is pondering whether that admirable principle might commend itself to the University Senate. Leave him to think about it. I believe Miss Hume's governors were actively encouraged to debate the great issues of the day, but the headmistress had mastered a fundamental principle in diplomacy, that one should never put to any authoritative body any question in so simple a form that the answer no might possibly be given. And so Miss Hume enjoyed a constructive and harmonious relationship with her governing body. Thus she presided over the development of her school through a period of great change and considerable growth. Withington became fully independent in 1976, continued to expand physically with a sequence of new building programs, and of course it established a most enviable academic reputation. Of course there were setbacks. There was an occasion, whisper it, quite recently, when the O-level results, was it in English or mathematics or comparative heraldry, I forget, was scarcely up to normal expectations. The pass rate had fallen to a whisker below 90%. I'm not sure, Your Grace, that I should refer to these harrowing events in quite so public a setting as this. What was to be done? Some rebuke, some criticism? No. Miss Hume's generosity triumphed, and her only comment was that this year, exceptionally, the results were only just as good as those at the boys' school, a delicate reference to Manchester Grammar School just down the road. Outside her school life, our graduand has varied interests as an excellent cook, as a weaver of tapestries. Is that the explanation of her virtuosity in arranging school timetables for what is a timetable, but a sort of tapestry woven from time? In 1972, Marjorie Hume was raised to divine status. That is to say, she was appointed a member of the University Grants Committee, a body with almost godlike powers over the affairs of we poor mortals here down below. Or should we see rather the UGC as Greek mythology saw the three fates, those scheming female figures who shaped the destinies of men, as one O-level candidate once put it, by constantly weaving and unravelling their endless combinations. That great distinction was followed by others, by membership of the Greater Manchester Educational Trust, of the Court of the University, of the governing body of Manchester Grammar School, a kindly interest in another establishment, and more recently, the Council of the Institute of Science and Technology. For all these excellent reasons and others time does not permit a reference to, I now present to your Grace and Chancellor, Marjorie Hume, for the degree Master of Arts, honoris causa. Your Grace and Chancellor. As your Grace may well recall, the feudal system of society was abolished some few centuries ago. Abolished, that is, except for its strong survival in some of the great science departments of our universities. Here, benevolent feudalism persists. Great academic overlords hold sway, scientific barons of our modern age. Now, it was ever the custom and the pleasure of the great nobles of the past to ride forth to jousts and to tournaments, in their modern form, international scientific conferences. And so the great estate was left in the hands of a trusty high steward or grand vizier who managed the physical resources. Such a man is William Simpson. To give the modern form of his title, lately Superintendent of Laboratories in the School of Physics, the power behind the baronial chair. Bill Simpson was prepared by rich early experience for this intricate task, requiring as it does a blend of engineering expertise and the skills of high diplomacy. Raised on Merseyside, I'm told he first attracted public notice, but more especially the attentions of the fairer sex, as a curly-headed young apprentice in one of the local engineering firms. But our graduand was even then a serious young man of great ambition, a burner of much midnight oil, as he took his formal training to higher national certificate level. And after industrial experience with a variety of local firms, he joined the University of Liverpool to become chief technician in the Department of Fluid Mechanics. In 1964, Professor John Wilmot came from Liverpool to the senior chair of physics here in Manchester and was somewhat distressed by the indifferent state of the department's technical services. A transfer deal was soon arranged, and Mr. Simpson came to Manchester with a brief to put things in order. I'm told that on his first day, he went into the workshop to discover that everyone had left early, except for two technicians who were busily repairing a domestic washing machine. So much for big science, as it then was. Bill Simpson's managerial technique is one that deserves to be widely copied. For any job, he would take a large box and put into it all the materials, all the tools, all the working drawings required, so that no technician need ever leave his task to search for a spanner and to have a cup of coffee on the way. Our graduand could have revolutionized the plumbing profession had he turned his talents in that direction. Good order and discipline and calm efficiency were thus restored and have prevailed to this day. William Simpson is a man of many parts, not all of them electronic. A keen amateur footballer, he had a reputation as a determined defender with a powerful tackle. What better training is there to deal with academics who want to press forward with their own priorities at all costs? A sliding tackle from this stopper centre-half, and order was soon restored. I'm told that even Professor Wilmot has been known to respond to the treatment. But our graduand is well known also as a man of great kindness. Young people in the department would often take their problems to him for sound advice. Indeed, he now puts his qualities of sympathy, humanity, and of rugged common sense to wider use by serving with a Citizens' Advice Bureau. To his younger colleagues in the technical service, he was not only a mentor and a most effective trainer, but himself a model example of how their own careers might develop. In 1965, he became a chartered engineer and a member of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers, and was later to become a fellow of that institute. Membership both of the Institute of Production Engineers and the British Institute of Management soon followed. Here, then, is a thoroughly professional man in the best sense of that rather overworked word. His qualities came to be valued very widely in the university, far beyond the department. He gave enormous help on personnel questions to our establishment unit, on many thorny issues concerned with technical staffing. He unlocked many problems. I gather, too, he unlocked as many motor cars whose careless owners had slammed the doors with the keys inside, all a part of his wide technical virtuosity. It is accepted in physics that the only way to discover if your new car is really secure is to put it to the Simpson test, and very few have been known to get through. Fortunately, Bill Simpson's great talents are not lost to us, for he continues to serve our industrial company, UoM, as a consultant on laser technology. I realise that Your Grace may now be anxious to consult Mr. Simpson as to the security of the Rolls-Royce mark of motor car, and so I should conclude and present to Your Grace and Chancellor William Simpson for the degree of Master of Science honoris causa.
Mr. Chancellor, Your Grace, on behalf of the Senate of the University, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Science, Thomas Patrick Cunningham Mulholland. And for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Michael Damien Barry. Nicola Jane Barry. Neil Bradshaw. Michael Peter Irvin. Alexander Zimanski. Mark Wingfield. And Richard Arthur Wellesley Young.
Mr. Chancellor, Your Grace, on behalf of the Senate of the University, I present to you for the degree of Master of Philosophy, David Gordon. And for the degree of Master of Laws, Brigitte Maria Fischoff. Digby Charles Jess. And for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Accounting and Law, Julianne Mary England. William Shane Logan. Stuart Howard Rosenberg. Stephen Andrew Smith. Andrew Stephen Taylor. Leila Michelle Williams. Alan Cleveland Brown. Simon Barry Sanders. And Michael Tat Chiu Tung. And for the degree of Bachelor of Laws with Honours, Sarah Louise Atherton. Janet Beatty. Amanda Jane Beecroft. Katie Margaret Bowen. John Clinch. Mark Edward Cottrell. Rebecca Louise Dorrell. Stephen Paul Evans. Rebecca Sharon Ferguson. Deborah Jane Fishgrund. Sandra Elizabeth Margaret Forbes. Ruth Galinsky. Catherine Jane Gordon. Paula Frances Griffin. Karen Elizabeth Hughes. Alison Claire Kesley. Alison Jane Clarfeld. Paul David Lowenstein. Anne Marsh. Jeffrey Duncan Middleton. David Lloyd Mitten. Charles Richard Obank. David Jack Price. Annette Hilary Deborah Wright. Catherine Revitt. Margaret Mary Scotland. Helen Shaw. Karen Averill Schwarzberg. Madeline Deborah Smith. Frances Julia Stone. Suzanne Caroline Tanchin. Douglas Tomlinson. Linda Margaret Wall. Carolyn Walsh. Anna Charlotte Wetham. Claire Alice Wilson. Michael John Wistow. Stephanie Joan Woodbine. Deborah Ann Young. Timothy Mark Andrew. Jeremy Andrew Aaron. Andrew Francis Bath. Richard Michael Elliott Barlow. Jeremy Paul Berg. Peter Anthony Bibby. Gavin Christopher Bobey. Richard Ian Windsor Bond. Stephen David Brown. James Joseph John Byrne. Mark Jonathan Carlton. Emma Susan Cohen. Andrew Lloyd Davis. Andrew Richard Davis. Stephen John Davis. Brian John Dean. Jane Deegan. Stephen Robert Charles Dent. Andrew Dethick. Craig Jonathan Downhill. Jacqueline Barbara Adelson. Simon John Evans. Judith Deborah Harris. Peter Jeffrey Hearsay. David Jameson. Carolyn Denise Jones. Philip Jones. Simon Peter Kamstra. Osmond Lamb. Damien Paul Landy. Martin John Lee. Neil Robert Thomas Lorimer. Jacqueline Ann Marney. Priti Manek. Ashley Jonathan Marks. Catherine Sarah Martin. Simon Edward Firth Mills. Stephen Mark Neal. Deborah Catherine Nicholas. Mary Patricia O'Cleary. Benita Parkash. Jeremy Guy Perks. David William Pickering. Nigel Philip Rouse. Simon Rowlinson. Ian Robert Roylance. Andrea Karen Rusbridge. Fiona Helen Spencer. Jason Brian Trentham Stanley. Nicholas Peter Mark Sweeney. George Joseph Thompson. Jonathan Tinman. Catherine Turner. Sarah Margaret Williams. Catherine Margaret Wilson. Frances Louise Woods. And for the ordinary degree of Bachelor of Laws, Andrew MacLean Gibb. Isaac Zachary Mockton. Ranchi Panchal.
Mr. Chancellor, Your Grace, I present to you, on behalf of the Senate of the University, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with honours in chemistry, Philip Arthur Alway, Paul North Bateman, Jack Raymond Brown, Richard Andrew Brown, Jenny Hammond, Jason Mark Hill, Stephen Melvin Howdle, Stephen Philip McNeely, Anna Louise Prescott, Keith Rigby, Robert Ian George Thompson, David Anthony Walwork, David Lawrence Bamber, Anita Brook, Thomas Richard Bruce, Neil Anthony Burton, Martin Peter Downey, John Dunn, Arthur Brian Edwards, Amanda Jane Goodwin, Ian Robert Gould, Andrew David Hockey, Petra Louise Darcy Hughes, Paula Humphreys, Pok Lai Stephen Lee, Peter Nielsen Lindberg, Simon James O'Neill, Robert Charles Potter, Alan Rickleton, Linda Louise Richardson, Benedict John Stanners, Ian David Tars, Helen Tyler, Robert Webster, Julie Diane Willis, Suzanne Lindsay Wolfson, Geoffrey Roy Bailey, Catherine Mary Bolton, Peter Leonard Byerley, Frank Fung Kwong Chung, Robert Craig Dickens, George Wilfred Gonsalves, Alistair Paul Green, Michael Green, Ian Thomas Harrison, Jane Henderson, Susan Mary Hayworth, Jonathan George Hughes, Sandra Jane Jeffrey, Stuart Jones, Fiaz Ullah Khan, Andrew John Laws, John Leach, Petra Littlewood, Aristides Philippides, Andrew Jonathan Plews, Frank Andrew Proctor, Sandra Scrafton, James Richard Smith, Ian Richard Spender, Joan Thornton, Adrian John Wade, Olusola Beatrice Wellesley Cole, Judith Ann Wilkin, Daniela Bussoloni, Paul Nigel Clark, Sean Jeremy Day, Eric Miles Dickinson, David Michael England, David Mark Reed Froe, Susan Jane Ithel, Sarah Mary Jackson, David Alexander Jacobs, Ian Patrick Kilbride, Jennifer Ann McGonigal, Desmond James Mitchell, Deborah Reed, and for the past degree, Philippa Margaret Jane Brown, and for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honours in Chemistry and Geology, Robert Andrew Bridge, Derek Gordon Edwards, and for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honours in Chemistry and Physics, Sean Michael McSweeney, Simon Mark Christie, Diane Bernadette McKinney, Paul Michael Thacker.
Now, perhaps a final word. This university, like many others, has had a pretty hard time over the last few years, largely because of the cutback in government funding. This has caused great pain and great difficulty. And we can foresee that there are going to be major changes in the university system across the country. But equally, we have very great confidence that we can confront these and come forward with important innovations and new solutions. There is great optimism in this university. And we rely to a great extent on you, our graduates, to back us in this new enterprise. So now, congratulations and good luck. I hope everything goes very well with you.